look up and I see Mary with two angels on each side of her, male angels, big. They were encased in light, and they kind of descended down, and she hovered at the foot of my bed.
This is Touched by Heaven, everyday encounters with God. Those moments when heaven and earth collide, and we see God, we see His hand reaching out to us, inviting us into a relationship, attempting to get our attention. We highlight the stories of encounters with angels, divine interventions, God incidents, big and small, near-death experiences, visions. I am your host, Trapper Jack. The story I'm about to tell you, I probably wouldn't tell you, except I got this particular email on a particular day. Tom Broderick sends me an email. He sends it. It lands on February 15th. February 15th? And it's an email about the special blessings, special graces he's been receiving by wearing his Miraculous medal. Familiar? Miraculous medal? If not, I'll bring it up to speed in a second here. But that email landed on February 15th. What are the odds? So I'm going to tell you the story. Because on February 15th, 2005, my dad passed away. He was 89, had dementia, and my mom called to let me know. Okay. That was a Tuesday. The next day, Wednesday, I wanted to go talk to my friend, Dr. Isam Nami, who was highlighted in the Blind Faith Live podcast. He prays, things happen, miraculous happenings, and the man's a living saint, as is his wife, Kathy Nami. So I go up to their office to kind of commiserate a little bit, and then Dr. Nami went back into the treatment room to see his next patient. So I'm now in the back room. Kathy Nami's there, and at least one, maybe two friends are up there as well. And after the doctor has gone to the treatment room, we're talking, and suddenly Kathy Nami, her head goes down so that her forehead is resting now on her forearm. And she says, "Your father's here." And I just said, "Okay." And then Kathy began having a vision of something that happened in my life long ago. She says, "I see your father coming downstairs to wake you up. Did you have a bedroom in the basement?" And I said, "Well, which house?" She says, "How do I know which house?" "The brick one." "The brick one?" "The brick one puts me in Utah." So that means I'm 18 years old, and I'm about to go off to broadcasting school in San Francisco. Maybe it's the day I left. I don't know, because my dad is coming downstairs, and Kathy says he's coming in to wake you up, but he also wants to talk to you and give you something. He's standing there, and he's holding two silver medals, little medals. And I said, "What's on the medals?" And there was a pause, and Kathy says, "I can only see one side. I see the Blessed Mother Mary." I said, "Okay." And she said, "He's standing there. He's getting emotional. He wants to tell you something, and he wants to give you those medals. But he's getting emotional. He can't do it. He can't do it. He's going back upstairs." Then she said, "He's coming back downstairs. He does not have the medals anymore. He's coming into your bedroom. He's waking you up." And then Kathy says, "Had he given you those medals and said what he was going to say, your life would be very different today." What? As I think about that, my dad had a lot of faith, a lot of trust in Jesus and Mary and God and all of that. But he never shared his faith. I mean, we always went to Mass every Sunday, and we did all those things as good Catholic families do, right? But he never had the conversation about his faith, right? Meanwhile, I'm about to go off to San Francisco, and as I'm leaving the house, I'm going to be saying goodbye to the church. For all intents and purposes, I'm going to be saying goodbye. I'm not going to go to Mass because I don't have any connection. So that's kind of where I am at that moment. And here is Kathy saying, had he said what he was going to say and given me those medals, my life would be different today. So after seeing the doctor and Kathy and all of this happening, I come back to the house here and I call my mom and I say, "Did Dad have two silver medals with Blessed Mother on them?" And she goes, "Yeah. He carried them in his wallet all the time." I said, "Well, I don't want anything else, but could I have those two medals when I come back from the funeral?" "Okay." So I come back, and when I'm with my mom, I said, "Could you show me those medals?" And she takes me to a back bedroom. She's got this little box, little kind of 4x6 little box, and inside are all these little things that he's collected: pins and medals and religious objects and holy cards. And she says, and I said, "Oh, here." And she said, "Yeah, these two silver ones," and they were actually bent. They're bent a little bit because they've been in his wallet forever. Who knows how long? So they were bent because he was sitting on them. You wore the wallet in the back pocket, right? And she gave me the medals, and I have them here. Hold on, I got them over here. Okay, and I got them here. Here they are. And I carried them around with me a long time. I carried around a little bag with a lot of religious medals and objects and things like that. And then after, I was always afraid I was going to lose it somewhere because these are very precious to me. And so I ended up putting them in a little box in a bedroom and everything. So I think I'm supposed to be wearing this. The fact that email came in when it did, and I'm telling you the story that I'm supposed to be wearing these around my neck. And so actually right now, as I speak to you, my wife is buying some kind of like silver chain so I can wear them around my neck. Why the miraculous medal? Well, we'll get into that a little bit here with Tom Broderick because, as I said, he's the one that sent the email and started this conversation.
Hello.
Hey, Tom Trapperjack, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Well, not actually. Having kind of a stupid day.
That sounds like a normal day for me. What's a stupid day for you?
Well, a stupid day is when you sent me a message, and I'm reading the message, and it disappears. And I can't find it.
Not unusual.
You know,
this is not unusual in this world, buddy. Not unusual.
Oh, I thought it was something of the devil trying to keep us apart.
That's what I mean. Not unusual. And it happens all the time. I've had files disappear. I've had episodes disappear after editing everything. I've had all kinds of stuff. But, God wins out. You just do a little praying and Jesus wins, right?
It doesn't all the time.
All the time. All the time.
Hey, what I'm calling about is this cancer I've been fighting for 4 years here. It started out as prostate cancer, and they were going to do chemotherapy and radiation and all that. And he says, well, just to be on the safe side, we'll do a bone scan and see if your bones are all right.
They do the scan. This is about 4+ years ago.
You get bone cancer, and there's no treatment for bone cancer. I've been pain-free for these 4 years, and that's a blessing. That's your goal, really. And I'm thinking, I think what's keeping me pain-free is I wear this miraculous medal on there.
How long have you been wearing the medal?
Well, in fact, I was wearing it before I was diagnosed with cancer. You always say, I've been pain-free for 4 years, and they always say, that's pretty good, or something like that. But they don't say, everybody's different.
But they're surprised that, number one, you're not having pain, and maybe number two, you're still with us.
Exactly.
Yeah. They don't say it, but it's like, Yeah, whatever. They give you whatever you're doing, keep doing it?
Yeah.
Did you ever have pain with the bone cancer? Did you ever have pain?
None.
So the bone cancer is spreading. It's in his hip. It's going down halfway down his leg. It's also in his spine, pelvic area. Let's see, the rib ends, but no pain.
What it is, I'm a dead man walking, but I'm walking pretty good.
How old are you?
83.
83. Okay.
I've heard about the miraculous medal ever since grade school. I went to a Catholic grade school.
Yeah, the miraculous medal is amazing. Do you know the history? Have you done the history on that?
Yes, but I can't remember the saint that it was given to.
Saint Catherine. Saint Catherine of, is it Labour or?
Yes.
Yeah, who had the vision back in 1830. She had just entered the convent, and several months later she had this vision of Mary inside the chapel, and Mary was basically standing there wearing her white veil and saying, she said, make a medal that looks like this. And she's standing on a globe, the world, and her feet are crushing a serpent. She has rays of sunshine coming from her fingertips down onto the earth, her graces. Let's see, what else do we know? In the back, there's a cross. There's 12 stars representing the 12 apostles, beginning of the church. There's an M for Mary and Mother, the mother of us. Oh, this was kind of cool about St. Catherine. When she was 8 years old, she was, I think, the 9th of 11 kids. And when she was 8 years old, she lost her mom. Her mom died. And then but there was, I think it was a statue or something, and she kind of crawled up to Mary and said, now you're my mom. You're my mom. So she always had this devotion to Mary, mother of Jesus, mother of God, mother of the church, our mother, our heavenly mother. She always kind of had that knowledge, if you will. Let's see. There's on the back there's two hearts: Sacred Heart of Jesus, the Immaculate Heart of Mary. What else do we know? And the idea is what Mary said to St. Catherine is whoever wears this medal will receive extra graces through me. And if for anyone who wears it with confidence is the way. And obviously you're wearing it with confidence, Tom. Yeah.
Yeah, and to promote it too is a good thing.
And you may have heard, I don't know if you've listened to a number of the podcasts, it's popped up a couple of times. Lisa Forrest was talking about when she was praying for her husband to receive help in changing a tire on the RV. She was praying, and then a second later, a guy with the tool to remove the lug nuts is walking by, and it's like, wait, where'd this guy come from? But she went outside to say hi to the guy, and as she's getting back into the RV, there was a miraculous medal on the step going back in.
Oh, I do remember that part.
And the sun was shining on it. It just popped, she said. She said, I have no idea where it came from. I'm sure it was in the RV somewhere, but that it was suddenly on the step that I would see it right at that moment. And then her husband, Larry, mentioned that when his brother had just died and he discovered him, his brother was wearing a miraculous medal. What was interesting about his case was that he was thinking about becoming a Catholic, not yet a Catholic. And Larry, as he's looking at it, said it kind of did this thing where it began kind of like enlarging and kind of almost, I can't remember exactly how he put it, but it was like there was an effect going on the medal. Mary, it's kind of like Mary was there too, kind of a sign from Mary saying, I'm here. And he was wearing a miraculous medal, special graces. So, and I have my own stories wrapped around miraculous medals too. So it's pretty cool. I have no doubt. I have no doubt that she's touching you. And God is touching you through that medal. But the idea was that one of the reasons you were hoping for further blessings is if we get the word out more about the miraculous medals, that perhaps she would continue to bless you as she has been, and perhaps even more.
Exactly.
And I think because of you, so I think I'm going to be putting mine back on.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So we'll both be getting extra graces.
Well, I think that's about all I got.
I think that's about all I got. So what's the big takeaway out of all this? I don't know. Maybe you're supposed to hear Tom's story or my story or my dad's story. Maybe you're supposed to have a miraculous medal. Extra graces. Oh, and I heard a great definition for grace from Bishop Robert Barron. He equates it, his analogy, steroids for an athlete. Is the athlete doing something? Well, he may be working out, but the steroid is all of a sudden this extra something, this extra strength that he is being given, right? Extra blessings. And grace is like that too. Anything that we deserve, no, God's grace. Extra blessings, extra strength, extra something that is getting us through our days, right? So that's great. And it's legal. It's legal, yeah. And no injections. So it's good. Extra graces. Let's continue our thought just about extra graces in general. I heard from June, who's a listener, and for 36 years, she has been a friend of Wanda's. Wanda Sealing. Wanda lives down in New Orleans. Wanda's had a heck of a life, ups and downs and all arounds, right? Extra graces is what Wanda has needed, and she started receiving extra graces beginning when she was 8 years old.
My parents really never went to church or anything like that, but they're good people, but they just didn't go to church. But my mother put me in Catholic school in the first grade.
Wanda is baptized. She's a baptized Catholic, even though her parents aren't going to church or anything. So she got her in second grade, 7 years old. She's receiving First Communion and things like that. So that brings her up to 8 years old. And one night, as she always does, she's praying for a horse.
I wanted to be a cowgirl. And I remember that night going to bed and praying over and over and over the Hail Mary. I even prayed the Hail Mary incorrectly. I remember praying Hail Mary full of grapes. The Lord is with thee.
Grapes?
Yes.
I love it.
The Lord is with thee. Blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Made sense. Made sense. Doesn't that make sense? If you got grapes, you've got fruit, and away she went. So she's praying her Hail Mary full of grapes.
Well, that particular night, I look up and I see Mary with two angels on each side of her, male angels, big. They were encased in light, and they had no borders around them other than a bright light. And they kind of descended down, like coming through the ceiling, and she hovered at the foot of my bed. And so my instinct, I got up and I kneeled before her and received Holy Communion. And then I seen her go back up in through the ceiling, descend into heaven. Well, after that, things I can't go into, but some bad things happened. So, but even though they were bad, they could have been a whole lot worse. So I feel like Jesus stayed with me, but he didn't keep some of the bad things from happening. My life's been good, bad, but I've made it through all of the bad things. God's mercy let me accept my fate as to what happened to me.
Well, let's go back. Let's go back a little bit. Let's go back to when you're 8 years old, and you're praying your Hail Marys. Had you fallen asleep, then awakened, or were you still awake? How do you remember it?
Somehow or another, I opened my eyes and seen her coming down, and I got up. She hovered. She never stood on the bed, but like hovered, her and the angels above it. Well, my instinct was to go to her and kneel before her. Mm-hmm. And all I remember is her head being bent over.
What was she wearing?
Dressed in blue. Mm-hmm. And I saw part of her hair, and it was brown, a chestnut brown or something like that.
Describe her face, or best you can, or how old did she appear, or could you tell?
She was young, and I would say pretty. I'm going to say, like 19, 20, something like that.
Mm-hmm. When you received the communion, how physical was it? Do you remember whether you felt it on the tongue, or was it more of a spiritual thing, or how physical?
I'm going to guess more spiritual. And after I received Holy Communion, I felt and seen her go up into heaven. I went back to sleep. But now she's come back to me 2 or 3 times since then.
Oh, has she? Oh, well, yeah. we'll get to that in a second here. We're talking on this episode about extra graces, like the extra graces of the Miraculous medal. Extra graces also come with praying the Rosary. There are extra graces that are offered. And as you say, and I don't know what they are yet, but I am going to pry a little bit. But as you look now back at this thing, at the good, the bad, and all that, it's almost like extra graces before you're about ready to head into something, maybe?
That's how I see it.
Is it? I mean...
Yeah, that's really how I see it, because each thing that I encountered, which was a lot of things, just made me stronger and better, more empathy for people. I have a lot of empathy. If they hurt, I hurt. Yeah. If they're happy, I'm happy.
What did you go through? Give me an overview here, because whatever it was bad, but give me the overview.
Throughout my life, I could say I lost everything 3 times. And the first one was when I was around 12, and my daddy bankrupt. And I had my horse at that time. And they loaded my horse up and took it off. They took my daddy's car off. His house went up for sale. We had nothing. We had no job. We had to go live with relatives in Georgia. I had to sleep on an linoleum floor for over a year. And when we got to New Orleans, my daddy didn't have 28 cents for us to ride the bus to go to his mother's house. We walked. He put my sister on his shoulder, carried 2 suitcases, and me and my mother had a suitcase.
The second huge financial loss had to do with her husband, who was supposed to be getting this full retirement at a certain age, but because of some kind of mess up with the union, he only had a partial payback, and so they were really scraping by to the point where Wanda had 3 jobs. And the third time?
Katrina.
Oh, you got wiped out by Katrina. Oh, my gosh.
The entire house went into the Gulf of Mexico.
Any insurance?
Yes, but it took about 27 months to settle up with that.
But Wanda did say there were 2 other times when Mary showed up with extra graces, shall we say. And that was when, one of them was when she was in her 40s. She was at a Catholic church. There was a healing service going on, places packed, overflowing. She and her friends are up towards the front, towards the altar. She's kneeling, and she hears footsteps.
And a lady kneels next to me. And she starts talking. Well, June and all of them could hear everything. And and this was a strange lady. Nobody knew. And she tells me that she had just come back from visiting the Vatican, had bought medals with Mary, had the Pope bless them. And as she was praying, she said the Virgin Mary came to her and told her that she was to come give me one of the medals.
What kind of medal?
It was a medal with the Virgin Mary on it.
Is it the Miraculous medal?
Now that I don't know.
Do you have it?
Well, now listen to this. I lost it in Katrina.
Ah.
But I found it.
Where?
In my yard, sticking up some kind of way. And now I have to find it here in my house. If I can. But I am legally blind. I'll look one more spot. Okay.
She found it. Actually, she found 3 medals. 2 looked alike, and then there was the one that the woman in the church had given her.
Okay. All right. So I can see a cross on the back. And it almost looks like an M, the letter M under the cross. Is that?
That's a Miraculous medal, yeah. There's a cross, there's an M. You should see 2 hearts.
I see 2 things underneath the
Yeah,
M.
I can't tell what it is. Yeah, one is the Sacred Heart of Jesus, one is the Immaculate Heart of Mary, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and on the flip side, you see...
Well, it looks like Mary.
Yes, it does. Can you read the words above her?
Oh, no.
Okay. It says, "O Mary, conceived without sin, pray for us," and... what is it? It's kind of an odd word that we don't hear much anymore. "And all those who have recourse to thee," or something like that. But that's a Miraculous medal. And talk about a Miraculous medal. Think again about how that medal made its way to Wanda.
That was the one that a strange lady that Mary instructed her she was to get up and give me one of those medals. And she came all the way from the back, and I was all the way to the front. And my friend June's head popped off. She said, "I'm the Catholic."
You want to know how good Mary is? I had half an episode. I had Tom. All I know of your story is that there's something about Mary appearing to you and giving you communion, and there are a couple of angels there. That's all I know about your story. I know nothing about this medal story.
Right.
I'm just sitting here just watching Mary do her thing right now, watching God do his thing right now, of bringing us together at this particular moment to put together this podcast. It's amazing.
It really is amazing. God came, well, first of all, I want to give all the glory and praise to God for anything good. But see, I don't tell everybody these stories, even though some know a lot of them.
Yeah, because people say things like, "Well, you just had a dream. That Mary Angel thing was just a dream." So what do you say to say, "No, it wasn't a dream. It was real"? How do you try to do that?
Right. Well, I do come back on people now, and I tell them, if you don't want to believe it, that's your business. I said, I don't lie, and I wouldn't lie about something like this, and this is the way it is.
Now, the next time Mary shows up is on a riverboat, a gambling riverboat.
I started smelling roses. Now, if you ever been on a gambling boat or a gambling hall, They don't smell like roses, and it smells like cigarettes and whiskey. And so I kept asking everybody. I play poker, by the way. And I'm asking, do y'all smell roses? And everybody's looking at me like I'm nuts. I don't smell roses. Well, the next thing, all of a sudden the boat jerks, ships fly everywhere, et cetera, and so on. And come to find out, we'd been hit by like a tornado or something, but like just barely hit, no damage. And my friend June says, when you smell roses, that means Mary's with you. And I said, no, I never heard that before. And so her opinion, she thought that Mary kind of protected us and things could have been worse.
Absolutely. That's the apps. She got it all right. Wow. Interesting.
I smelled them again 2 weeks ago.
Oh, what was going on?
Well, my son got sick, and he had been sick for several months, and it was a cough and breathing difficulties. And he wound up in the emergency room for difficulty breathing. So he went and saw the lung specialist, and she wanted an MRI.
In the meantime, her son said, well, let's rely on faith here as well. Let's get a prayer chain going. Let's get some prayers going. He calls upon his pastor, who does hands-on praying over the son. And let's see. Oh, and then there was that moment in the church. And
a strange lady walks up to me. I've seen her before, but I don't know her. Well, she walks right up to me and she says, who do you need prayers for right now? I said, my son. So she prays for him. I smell flowers. And I really smiled. I said, thank you, Mary. Nothing shows up on the MRI. And he hasn't had any problems since.
Very cool. Very cool. Have you, since that first time at age 8 when Mary gave you communion, have you stayed in touch with Mary? Because she sure keeps coming back.
I do. Now, even though I'm a Baptist and I go to my Baptist church on Sunday, no matter where I lived, I always found time to go into Catholic church to be alone and talk. Even though I call myself a Baptist, some of my Catholic feelings have never left. Mm-hmm. So
you're a mixed bag, huh? A mixed bag.
Yeah.
Oh, you're staying close to God, though. You're staying close to God. You're staying close to Mary. It's all good.
Every day, all day. I don't feel like I ask for his help every day. Help me. Just help me to get through, just the normal things that happen to people and the ugliness. I can't stand the ugliness of jealousies and things like that, and how people's heart. I like being around people that their hearts are pretty pure. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to be around people that's ugly inside. And God did give me the gift of discernment. And I can usually see who's good and who isn't. I can see the ones that are pretending to be good, but deep in the heart, they're not. And those people, they bother me. It's hard to be around that. I don't like it.
Yeah, why would you want to, huh? Why would you want to? It's one of those things. You pray for them. You obviously pray for them, and I get a sense that you're praying for people all the time.
Yeah.
And you know how Wanda mentioned earlier how she usually doesn't tell these stories to many people? Well, she got a message.
And I've got a bunch of stories. When I lived in Tennessee, God told me, he said, now you're to tell your story.
How did he do that?
Through a message through my dreams, or when I'm sleeping, I get something like right before I wake up, and I get a lot of these.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Do you get words or a voice? How do you experience it?
Sometimes I get words, and sometimes I get a thought. Sometimes I see things, and so I get messages, and he told me, he said, you are to tell the stories.
Thanks, God. I appreciate it. He did that just for the podcast.
Also, another story that I had. Do you have time for all this?
Well, how about we pause in your story? She's got a ton of more stories. So Wanda Sealing, she'll be back with us at some point here because she's got more stories. I mean, I look at how this episode came together. I've got nothing about miraculous medals until the email on February 15th with Tom, and it leads me to Wanda, and she's got a miraculous medal story amidst all the others, and it's just, God continues, he just continues to amaze me. I love when Touched by Heaven moments happen in the midst of putting together a Touched by Heaven podcast. That's pretty cool. Going to get these miraculous medals on me, and you go looking for your miraculous medals, buy some, whatever. There's extra graces. That's the message, extra graces. Like steroids without injections. Painless and full of power. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for helping us out at patreon.com, patreon.com. Look for Trapper Jack. Thank you for your monthly support. We appreciate it. Thank you for sharing these episodes. More great stories coming up in the weeks to come, provided you give me yours. What's your encounter? Let me know at touchedbyheaven.net. touchedbyheaven.net. See you next week on Touched by Heaven, Everyday Encounters with God. I'm Trapper Jack.